Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the closing bell on the Stock Movers Report. The companies making moves at the close of U.S. trading with Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, Romaine Bostick, and Scarlett Fu.
There's some really interesting stories playing out, too, when it comes to individual movers. I got the gainers today with Carol out of office. I want to start with Intel, as Romaine mentioned. Lit Bhutan, the CEO, who was called out by President Trump late last week in a social media post, according to CNBC, has been seen entering the White House. Investors liked what they heard early this morning when the Wall Street Journal did report that he was set for a meeting at the White House today, 3.7% to the upside for Intel. The person who said this and was familiar with the situation asked not to be identified, discussing private matters. The president did write that post on Truth Social Thursday that Tan should step down as CEO of Intel, describing him, quote, as highly conflicted. Also watching TKO Holdings, 10.2% to the upside today. Paramount has acquired the exclusive rights to show all events from the UFC in the U.S. over the next 7 years. It's a $7.7 billion deal. David Ellison is paying UFC's owner TKO Group Holdings more than double what it received under a previous deal with ESPN, which of course is owned by Walt Disney. And David Ellison is hoping the mixed martial arts league will drive millions of viewers to the company's streaming service. Once again, TKO Group Holdings up 10.2% today. And finally, did you guys see what happened with weed stocks today? Marijuana stocks?
I did.
Tilray up 42% today. It was one of the most actively traded stocks in the U.S. today. This after a report that President Trump was considering reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug. The report cited the president's remarks made during a fundraising event. This, according to people familiar with the matter, it highlighted a potential new scheduling push from the administration. Once again, Tilray Brands up 42% today.
I just want to just add an honorable mention there, and that's actually Fannie and Freddie. I was just keeping an eye on them. The shares rose 15% today, and that includes the 20% gain on Friday.
Is this a Bill Ackman move?
It's now $11.48 a share. It may not seem like much, but a milestone here. It's actually back to its highest level since 2008 when it went into conservatorship back in September 2008. Of course, this was, of course, a $100 stock at one point back in 2007, 06, but still a clear milestone here that maybe there is something afoot.
Well, we still have earnings crossing right now. GoPro, the maker of those cameras, coming out with second quarter revenue.
Is it public?
It's still public. It has not been acquired.
Okay.
We could do a whole story about GoPro. It's pretty fascinating that this is still a public company.
I still have one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but, a lot of people would argue that phones,
maybe
really
when
hurt
AI
them.
needs a whole bunch of, photographs and stuff, maybe then they'll buy the IP from GoPro or whatever.
Yeah,
idea?
That's a good point. Second quarter adjusted revenue came in 18% below what it did at the same time last year. Second quarter adjusted loss per share coming at 8 cents versus a loss per share of 24 cents last year. In the after hours, shares moving higher right now by about 4.6%.
Let's stick with the decliners. Dole is down 8% after the company cut its annual adjusted EBITDA forecast. The company also said that industry-specific challenges and less favorable weather conditions in much of Central America really put pressure on their industry supply and, of course, their sourcing costs. That, as well as really just weak market demand. Up next is Humacyte. This is also a big loser, down by almost 30%, the most since March. So this comes after the maker of bioengineered human tissue product, that's a mouthful, reported revenue that fell short of expectations. And I want to end on a fun note, although maybe it's not so fun because shares are down by almost 5%. Hershey, so the chocolate maker, is trading lower as cocoa futures climb. So this comes after renewed concern about weaker African corp forecast in the coming season. And on July 22, recall that Hershey said it is raising prices on its candy due to, again, historically high cocoa prices.
All right, real quickly, let's check in on what's happened with yields on this day. We did see a slight downdraft pretty much across the curve, but they were, as you can see, modest declines to be sure when it comes to yields. In fact, basically not much of a decline at all. Call it unch on the day, but it gets to this idea of a market that remains in stasis as, of course, everyone now awaits the economic data, and the economic data, of course, as it sort of will relate to what the Fed may potentially do next. Will they have enough ammunition to actually come out and cut rates at their September meeting?
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.